Call of Duty's in an interesting spot right now. We have Call of Duty next at the end of the month, where they're going to have a big overview of BO7's multiplayer and zombies, which we already know a ton about. Basically know almost everything about it, other than the super granular details that aren't all that important. And then we got to figure out what the heck they're going to do with Warzone. Obviously, there's some leaks and stuff like that. We'll have to figure that part out. And I'm going to that event. I knew back in May I would be going to the event. And this is kind of a big event that I've gone to for the past 5 years or so, minus the COVID years. But besides that, I've gone to pretty much all the events. And they invite a lot of people to the events. Just getting invited to the event isn't something that necessarily sways my opinion about the game. If you guys have been around following the channel for a bit, you already know I was pretty negative about Warzone 2 when we got the opportunity to play it early. I was negative about Modern Warfare 2019 when I got to play that early. There was tons of positives because visually the game looked better, but that's an aside, not really all that important. It's just that anytime I've had a chance to go early, I give my positives and my negatives, and I'm transparent about my thoughts and opinions. And it's not like I'm paid off just because Activision took me to an event or anything like that. I'm going to do the same this time around. I'm hoping for the best. I already know that more than likely I'll like multiplayer. I'll like what Zombies is doing for what they're going to show. But we really do not know what the heck's going on with Warzone, and that's the really big red flag. And it's so much of a red flag that this is the first time I've ever felt like going to an event is actually a make or break in terms of content for the channel. I like Call of Duty. I could cover multiplayer. I could cover zombies. I'm not really excited to cover those things. I'd rather cover Warzone. But if Warzone's not going to be taken care of, I mean, I play about 30 games on average per year that I could go and cover. Not saying Destiny, but that comes to mind. Battlefield, even though I'm not really too interested in Battlefield. There's tons of games, Arc Raiders, whatever it is. And, you know, maybe I have to cover it on a second channel if that's the case. But that's how big a deal this event will be for Warzone, in my opinion, because there's so many things that they're going to have to clear up. You know, I have no problem switching to something else. I know a lot of times people, they'll come to the comments and be like, well, you rely on, I haven't posted in 21 days. My financial income is irrelevant. I cashed out big during COVID because you guys supported so heavy during those years that basically I can do whatever the heck I want. If I just want to stay at home and take care of my son, take him to his baseball, I'm chilling. I'm good. But I do enjoy making content, so I want to continue making content. So that's the main thing. I think there's a lot of red flags with BO7. A lot of times the design scared people off, but that's been dialed back a little bit. And I think Battlefield has something to do with that because whether they're really concerned or not concerned about Battlefield, the fact is changes are happening, right? Changes to the pre-order bundles that look significantly better. And we end up getting an extra character from the pre-order thing. Those are the people that do the Vault Edition, get the $100 version or whatever the heck the case is. But beyond that, I think there's still a lot of fatigue issues that are impacting COD. Because it comes out annually, it deals with a different level of fatigue than other games do because they're asking full asking price of $70 or 80 or whatever Game Pass, however the heck you're going to play the game. And they ask of this every year, the same way Madden does, 2K, albeit that COD definitely does significantly more than Madden, the franchise, or 2K. They're going to have to deal with the different fatigue the players go through. For some, it was the skins. It seemed like that reached a breaking point with the Beavis and Butthead skins, the weed skins, that type of aesthetic that COD is going for. It was just too outside the box for some people. I think the SBMM and the engagement optimized matchmaking is fatiguing on players, even though there's some rumors that disbanding lobbies might be done away with and we might be able to get persistent lobbies, which is kind of a big deal on that front, to be able to have a little bit more organic feeling matchmaking and not feel like you're being manipulated. And I think that has kind of had its wear and tear since 2019 when that and disbanding lobbies were essentially implemented, and you don't really get to form those rivalries and the chat comms, which people get banned for that too. So people are fatigued by that. There's other types of fatigue like leveling fatigue, which we'll get to when we talk a little bit about the meta and stuff for Warzone. And then, you know, the anti-cheat stuff. We had this huge AFK ban hammer that came out that was supposed to be targeting the biggest abusers of AFKing, because that specifically was out to target people who farm accounts up to be sold for cheaters to be able to use on a boosted account. And there's a lot of innocent people that were thrown into that. From what I've been told, that number is incredibly large. The amount of hours you needed to AFK for you to be impacted was pretty significant. But the fact that there's no warning, I think, is a little bit more of the concerning problem. I think if most people just got a slap on the wrist and then they said, don't do it again, then nobody gets banned on that end. And then obviously the abusers would get banned again. And then at least you get the slap on the wrist, which I think that would have been a better way to do it. But I don't make the rules. I don't work at Activision. The only real rumors that we have for Warzone are the fact that we're supposed to get some resurgence map that's like an extended version of Liberty Falls. That doesn't sound necessarily appealing. I think just bringing back Vondel would have probably been a better option. I don't know what that's going to look like or play like. I've heard of people who have played those things, and we've seen the rumors online about that. What that'll actually entail, if they scrap that or keep that, what the heck does that mean? In terms of content, it sounds like we're still just going to get Verdansk. Avalon is going to be the co-op campaign, so we miss out on that. If they do an Outbreak style thing, that's still going to be for zombies and not for Warzone. So what does that mean for Warzone? I know they've done the HQ thing, gotten the file sizes way smaller for a lot of the stuff to save people that hard drive space. I think the big leap will be next year when we are done away with PS4 or old gen, which should have been done a while ago, but so many, I think it's like 45 or 50% of people are still on old gen that play the game. So it's kind of a lot. The other things we know is we're going to get carry forward for BO7 into Warzone. So those 30 weapons will be carried over. We don't know anything about the perk systems. We'll get the wall jump. And what other things will happen as a result of that? To get excited or hyped about it, it's more to be like just nervous. And, you know, that's a problem. And getting back to the weapon leveling fatigue is if they're going to add these 30 weapons and you opt to not buy Black Ops 7, which is perfectly fine if you don't like multiplayer zombies or the campaign, and you're only playing for Warzone, it feels kind of crappy every year to have to go and level up your guns from scratch every single time. There's multiple ways they can address this. One thing that really I see a lot on people post on either Twitter or Reddit, they're like, oh, it's like a second time job, you know, second job having a level. For the average person, you play probably like an hour and a half and your gun that's meta will be meta and it stays meta and they don't really change the meta. But it is kind of a narrow meta. When it does change, there's only a handful of guns that are worth using. If you didn't happen to level those guns, then it creates an issue. So they should have significantly faster leveling, which they haven't addressed. We'll find that out in the beta, how things actually level. Because even when we go to COD Next, the weapons will be pretty much leveled in the build we play, because we're going to be playing like maxed out beta build accounts or whatever you want to call it. So we won't know how that is. We'll do some testing when the beta actually comes out to see how much faster or slower that is. I think that obviously multiplayer, it's a part of progression with prestige and all these other things and challenges. When it comes to Warzone, it's kind of like they have to just bite the bullet and just say, you know what, it doesn't work. We either need to do away with leveling or make it near instantaneous. You could play a half an hour, the map should be leveled, maxed out, and you'll be good with the weapon. The other part is they don't really do a lot of buffs. So the diversity in the meta is kind of soft and weak at times, where maybe we get 2 rifles at the moment, maybe 4 SMGs, which the SMGs have been pretty good all year. There's usually a standout, but anything you got on SMG side is pretty good. Snipers are atrocious, and LMGs atrocious. Shotguns, really hard to balance, but still atrocious, besides the ones that break and then they fix the next day. And they don't even let them stay broken for more than an hour or whatever the heck the case is. So there's a lot of issues with that. The nice thing is that we have a lot going on in the next month. We get the COD Next. We get the Battlefield is going to release on the 10th. We get the Call of Duty, the beta, so people will be able to play multiplayer, fill that out. And then a couple weeks later, we're going to have the Battle Royale for Battlefield. Which for me, Battlefield, I just don't get into the multiplayer side of it. The BR was something I was a little bit more leaning towards, but there's been a ton of leaked gameplay. I'm not a fan of tanks in a Battle Royale. Some people say they're not a big deal. They're hard to get. Doesn't matter. The fact that they exist is a problem for me personally. I'll try it out. If I feel like they're too annoying, I probably won't be particularly interested in it. But good thing there's Arc Raiders a week later, and then I think a week later, unless they bump COD to come out earlier will be at the beginning of November, November 14th or whatever the case is, middle of November, I guess. So there's quite a bit to figure out between now and then. And they have to do a job of not only selling people on the idea that Warzone, like getting new players on Warzone, they got to sell people on the idea that Warzone's still worth playing. And right now I think it's doing fine because the casual mode kind of boosts up the player numbers. There's a bunch of casuals on it. Don't even realize they're playing against bots. Whatever. In terms of the gameplay is in okay state. It's just the fatigue, the staleness, a lot of those things just do not help for the long-term issues of the game. So regardless of how it turns out, hopefully you guys will be along for the ride. If you enjoyed the video, hit the like button. If you want to find your way back, make sure you subscribe. We'll see you on the next one. Thank you for watching. As always, have a great day.